How you guys doing? This is Darius and Donna TV. Welcome to the channel. So today I wanted to talk to you guys, reacting to a Pearl Davis video. We all know who Pearl Davis is. She's a considered a controversial woman. She's a pick me, but hey, it is what it is. The type of woman who gets attention by saying controversial things, but hey, I respect her game. She's doing her thing. Salute to Pearl Davis. So I wanted to talk to you guys because she said women should not vote, which is true, but it's true for very deep and understandable reasons. And we're going to react to her interview that she did recently. And I'll break it down and explain to you guys why women shouldn't vote. I got receipts, I got the charts, and you know how I do as a doctor of human nature that I am. I'll break it down on an esoteric level as well. But let's get to it. Let's get to the sauce.
Tonight I'm joined by social media sensation Pearl Davis. Pearl, I've got some notes here, a little bit of background about you, and I'm going to be honest with you, it's not a good look.
Oh, okay.
It says you've been described as misogynistic, anti-feminist, the female Andrew Tate, and you wrote on Twitter, I think, in 2023, that women should not have the vote.
Oh,
should
no.
they be chained up at the kitchen sink?
And see, this is where I do not like when people take it to the umpteenth percent. When when we say women shouldn't vote, we're not saying that they shouldn't have human rights. Like, come on, stop that. People do that as a tactic to scare you to be like, oh my God, if women don't have the right to vote, they're going to be sex slaves and like Boko Haram. They're going to be chained up like the Taliban and put in hijabs. No, people use that as a scare tactic to make you think that women not having the right to vote mean that men are going to mistreat women. Men have had the same hearts we've always had. What prevents us from becoming tyrants is our love for them. Love prevents men from becoming tyrants because when you love someone, you don't mistreat them. Men have had the same simp hearts they've always had. That's why we gave them the right to vote because we wanted to try to make women happy. But unfortunately, you cannot make women happy. We're learning this the hard way. Sometimes you have to discipline them and you have to restrict certain things to protect them from their own nature, their own chaotic nature, where if you give women too much free range, too much choice, they do self destructive things that ruin their life, like OnlyFans, porn, um, many different things. Eat, pray, love, waste their fertility, and then they become old single cat ladies with mental health issues. But let's continue.
Well, I didn't say chained up at the kitchen sink. I
You
just said we
they can't-
shouldn't vote.
Why shouldn't they vote?
Look, you, I think you need to have some skin in the game, right? Women, right now, we're not doing any of the infrastructure jobs, not at large. We're not paying taxes. We're in a loaded debt. And we keep voting for policies that ruin the country. So I just look at.
Yes, once women had the right to vote, they voted in politicians that voted in the bad policies. The immigration became a bad thing. The overspending, the welfare spending expanded after women had the right to vote. It wasn't women's biological imperative is to be taken care of and protected. The government creates huge safety nets, which the husband normally provides. They voted in politicians to become their surrogate husbands, and they created all these huge welfare spending projects where WIC, food stamps, they put in alimony and child support, all these different huge government. The government expanded after women had the right to vote, and certain men knew that this was going to happen. Hence, it happened.
Large, and I think to myself, why do we deserve to vote? Are we paying taxes? No. Are we doing the hard jobs? No. If you just limited it to people that pay taxes.
Only 20% of Americans are net taxpayers. Only 20% of Americans are net taxpayers, meaning they pay more into the system than they take.
are not in debt, are not taking child support, alimony, or any of that stuff, it would be like 2 women that could vote left or that do infrastructure.
You know,
jobs.
if I said this sort of stuff, Pearl, I would get chased. There would be people out with pitchforks chasing me down the street. Do you get much, kickback on?
And it's due to weak men like him is the reason why America and the West is dying. Weak men afraid of their wives and women not doing what was necessary back then is why we have inherited the bad policies, the way the country is to now where it's so divided and destructive. We are inheriting these weak men's problems.
It's true, though. You know, it's true. And it's so funny because when I talk to guys, I know they agree with me deep down. I know they just hear laughing because I'm right. And see, because you wouldn't find this funny if you didn't know that it was true on some level.
But you say,
I don't think it's
okay.
fair. I don't think it's fair that we have all of the say. All of the politicians have to cater to us, because we are the largest swing vote.
Exactly. Women are the majority of the population, and politicians have to cater to women in order to get the votes. Even Trump, all these all these politicians have to cater to the female vote. Hence is why abortion is such a big issue, which it shouldn't even be a priority. The main priority should be to lower the inflation, stop the crime, and the mass immigration. But we're focusing on stupid policies that aren't as important, like abortion.
I can see what you're saying to a small extent. I've always said that men get a rough deal sometimes. Men are pretty useful when it comes to going to war. They're pretty useful when it comes to going down a coal mine and digging coal out. They're pretty useful when it goes to
Men are important. They hold society together. Without men, there would be no modern society. Women do not create modern cities, they don't create anything of worth. Men do all the dirty, dangerous jobs. They hold the infrastructure up, they do in the oil rigs. And I'm gonna show you guys the occupations that's mainly contributed to men and the ones that are mainly contributed to women.
going into the ocean, fishing, and doing all the dangerous, nasty, horrible jobs in construction, etc. But women are just as important because without women, we wouldn't have children.
Exactly. Their main purpose is to have children and educate those children. That's very important. Everybody has a natural role. I'm not saying women shouldn't go to college. They should go to college after they're married and they have at least 3 children so that the fertility rate isn't so bad. The reason why mass immigration is needed in Western Europe or Europe in general and in America is due to the low fertility rates because women do not want to have kids because they're prioritizing school and work over having kids because kids get in their way. You ask a woman why she doesn't want to have kids, it gets in the way of her career. She's in college. Priorities are messed up.
Yeah, I mean, but that doesn't mean you should vote because without men, we wouldn't have children either.
Surely women want a better world.
Why is it that we only give women credit for the children? No kids.
So
no kids.
maybe one day when if you do have children, you might want to think to yourself.
Crazy. You know what I just realized? I'm sorry. We're not even doing that.
What?
We're not having kids.
Why?
So you said without women, we wouldn't have children. We're not having children. The birth rates.
She's correct. The birth rates are very, very shitty. Let me show you. I got a chart, and we're going to look at the U.S. fertility rate. Right now, the U.S. fertility rate is at 1.66. Pull it up on the screen here. It's at 1.66 right now. It's probably a little bit lower. This is 2021, but it's probably lower. Look, most Western countries' fertility rate is horrible. Canada's fertility rate, 1.43. So this is entirely due to once women had the birth, and by 73, like 10 years later, the fertility rate is below replacement. It's at 1.88 by 1973. Look at the difference. in 10 years from 1960 to 73. That's a huge drop. 3.65, 1.88. That's entirely due to women working mass and going to college. There's nothing wrong with them going to college. The problem is you have to have you can go to college and work. No one said you can't do that, but get married and have children first. What are you wasting your best years for? Seriously, what what is the point? You're wasting your best years to do something that's not going away. Work in college is not going away. You can go to college after you have kids in your early 30s. Once your kids are old enough, once you have your third kid and they're old enough to go to public school, you can work. You can go to school. When the kids are in school, you can go to college during the day or in the morning when the kids are in their school. You can work. But women waste their most fertile years going to college and working in their most fertile years. Have the kids first, then have that. Marry three kids, then go to school. No one said you can't go to school, but you have duties just like men have duties to the nation. You also have duties to the nation because if the system collapses, there will be no more college. You won't be working. It's going to be Mad Max. You're probably going to be a sex slave. You're going to have to do some things for a little bit of change if the system collapse. So if the system collapse, nobody will have rights because it'll be Mad Max. You'll probably be a sex slave to some gang leader and it'll be it for everybody. There won't be any college. So do your small part now so that the collapse doesn't happen later on. But we're going to get back to the video with Pearl. We're going to get back to the sauce of that.
It's like one of the biggest
Yes.
problems in every country.
Yes, but it's important as a mother when you do have children. One of the first things that you think about, as any parent really, whether you're male or female, is what sort of world do you want your children to live in? Mm-hmm. And you can only, influence that world by the ballot box, surely.
Yeah, so. But again, I think you need to have skin in the game. I think you need to be paying taxes. I'm not for men.
So
most Americans, the majority of Americans don't even pay taxes. Most Americans are either on welfare or they get a tax return money back. So
you're saying that unemployed people shouldn't
No, I think you need to have some skin in the game.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair. And on top of that, in the U.S., men are fined $250,000 if they're not enlisted in selective service.
Okay.
That's why women didn't vote historically. It wasn't what they tell you, all this oppression, sexism. No, it was because
being an American citizen isn't just being born here like an animal. It's also serving your nation. Now, the government is so corrupt and wicked, nobody wants to serve. Who would want to serve a corrupt government? Nobody. So, but yes, everybody has a service and a duty to the nation. Unfortunately, women aren't holding their end of the deal. Hence, we have a lot of these problems due to weak men not correcting the bad behaviors of women.
The vote came with going to war in times of trouble. So now it's like men have all of the responsibility of running society, protecting society.
Okay, so what about?
So that came with the freedom to vote. And
so
now,
I guess there's people like watching this now, screaming at the screen. So what about female politicians? We've had female prime ministers. Should they be allowed to enter politics?
Oh God.
There has never been a great female politician. Women are horrible leaders. They are meant to serve and help men build the nation. They're not meant to lead. Women are meant to serve, not lead.
I don't prefer women in politics. I don't prefer it. But if they're tax-paying citizens, fine.
So how can a female politician, we've had a few female prime ministers in this country, but you're saying they shouldn't be allowed to vote?
I'm not the biggest fan of with the nuke bomb that could get their period, and then she's in a bad mood. I don't want that personally.
Yeah, I suppose it'd be.
I lead. We're not meant to lead countries.
You know, you're being a bit. I mean, if I said that about women having periods and about to press the nuclear button, I'd been.
Because you're a weak cuck is the reason why we're in this, you old weak bastard. Due to your weakness, we men now have to deal with the crisis of today. Overspending, all these things due to your weakness.
A whole lot of trouble, but men have bad moods as well, you know. I mean, we've seen some people in the world that are
Men know how to control their anger because there are immediate consequences if men don't control their anger. If I get angry at a random stranger man, he might punch me in my face. So men know that the threat of life is a real thing that can happen if we just randomly lose control. Women do not have that fear because most women do not use violence. They are passive aggressive. So women do not have that same level of fear. Therefore, they can act like a pestilent child when they get angry. So women have chaotic natures. So they are not well versed at controlling themselves because they lack the strength and the discipline to control their emotions.
leading countries. Look at Putin. You know, most people think that he's a madman. Would you sooner have him
Putin is a good leader of Russia.
running the country with his finger on a button or a sensible lady?
Well, a significant difference. And I think if you ask the average person on the street who's more emotionally stable, men or women.
Can you imagine the kind of backlash I would get, or any man?
Because you're a weak pussy, afraid to tell women the truth. This is why women only respect men who are willing to call them out on their bullshit. This is why most men are weak and their wives run them because men like him are afraid of their wives. I understand why they're afraid of their wives because they're afraid of the government that's coming behind them. Because women will call the cops if they get mad at you and kick you out. But you still have to stand up to her. You don't have to. It don't have to go that far. You can, when you're dating, you can tell like, hey, I don't appreciate that. Don't do that again. And if you're serious, she'll respect you. Like, okay, he has boundary. But most modern men do not have boundaries. This is why their wives run over them because they waited too late. See, when they were dating, they started off weak because they're afraid to lose the woman. And then down the years, they're a beaten dog where they push baby cars and become the second mothers. So it's very important to set boundaries even if she walks away.
Would get saying what you're saying.
I know, but you guys know I'm right. That's the funny thing. You guys all know I'm right.
YouTube.
So the rest of that is pretty much, you get the gist of it. So women shouldn't vote due to their unstable natures and them creating politicians that create overspending and a lot of the bad issues and the fertility rate going down also because they vote in politicians that create policies that cause the fertility rate to go down. And then it's just a death spiral because the government gets too big, then there's nothing you can do at that point. Like if I have a chart here that shows the spending. So it shows the spending. Mm, this one. So this chart shows the spending. Once it hits the 70s, the public welfare just gets skyrockets up. And it just keeps going up and up and up. So, like I said, you guys, welfare is the death of a nation, but women voting starts that death. It's the diagnosis to the up to the end goal of death. But anyways, this Darius from Down on TV. I'm out.